Hi everyone, it's me again. Today I'm going to read you chapter 4 of my book, Wildmoore, Wrath of Zane. I hope you enjoy. Chapter 4, Welcome to Wildmoore. Natalie wasn't sure how long she had been asleep, but by the time she woke up, she noticed that the entrance of the cave was closed off with a rock wall. Instead, on the other side, there was morning sunlight shining behind her, casting her shadow on the previous but now closed entrance she came from. Curious about what was on the other side, Natalie got up from her sleeping spot, swung her book bag over her shoulder, and headed towards the sunlight at a cautious pace. As she walked, Natalie said with an anxious tone, "Hello? Is anybody out there?" Finally, she reached the outside of the cave, and Natalie saw a forest with very green but tall trees, much taller than the redwood trees. The sound of birds chirping filled the air, and to add confusion to Natalie's odd start of the day, she heard lions roaring in the distance. In Natalie's mind, only owls, deer, raccoons, wolves, and foxes live in the forest, while lions reside in Africa. Suddenly, a shadow flew over, causing Natalie to duck, thinking it was a large falcon. But to her shock, after she looked up, it was a great horned owl the size of a Clydesdale horse. Natalie thought to herself, "There's no way that owls are that big." Wanting to get over this initial shock, Natalie decided to go on a walk down a dirt path to clear her head. As she walked, she noticed a wooden direction post sign with 7 wooden arrows pointing to different locations: Wildmoore Kingdom, Potwood Village, Lion Realm, Forest Grove, Dragon's Pass, Fortune Cave, and the Shadowy Rock Palace with a warning that said, "Do not enter the boundaries of the Shadowy Rock borders. Evil lives there." After reading that warning, Natalie had chills and felt an unsettling sense in her bones, while gripping onto her book bag with a tight grasp. She looked at the direction signs with a curious glare and asked herself, "What are these places? Where have I gone to that has Clydesdale-sized owls?" Suddenly, a loud, agonizing roar in the distance, and a voice shouted, "Help! Somebody help me!" As if instincts took her over, Natalie ran to the voice without even bothering to see what direction she was going. She was able to dodge every branch and rock that could have tripped her or hit her forehead. Natalie stopped when she saw what looked like a dragon trapped in a misty rope trap. A magical rope trap. The dragon was large, with radiant red fur, gold spikes on its spine, emerald eyes, a long tail with a darker red tip, and a white heart-shaped mark on its neck. The dragon was struggling to get free from the trap and shouted, "Someone, please help!" Natalie couldn't believe her ears. A talking dragon? "No one can help the likes of you," a sinister voice sneered. The voice's owner was wearing a black cloak and holding a dagger over his head, ready to strike the dragon dead. Now, wanting to see this go any further, Natalie quickly found a palm-sized rock nearby and threw it at the cloak figure, square on the head. The cloaked man howled in pain and just ran away. This gave Natalie the opportunity to run over and get the trap off an innocent creature. Startled, the dragon flinched when Natalie approached. But Natalie assured him, "It's okay, I'm not going to hurt you." After getting a closer look at the trap, it was bounded by magic, or as Natalie could clearly see, it was dark magic. However, Natalie had no clue how to reverse the dark magic's trap. But as she was about to look for something sharp to cut the rope trap, the crystal on her necklace started to glow a pale pink color. And the glow quickly intensified into a bright beam that could blind anyone if they looked at it too long. Suddenly, a light beam shot from the crystal and hit the rope trap, causing it to disintegrate into nothing. And the dragon immediately got onto his 4 feet. Natalie couldn't tell if she was terrified or amazed by the size of this dragon as she froze in her place. The dragon examined the girl carefully and said with a grateful grin, "Oh, thank you, kind girl, for saving my life." Natalie tilted her head curiously at the dragon as she heard his voice. There was something familiar about his voice, but she couldn't seem to place it. However, she asked the dragon, You can talk?" The dragon looked at Natalie with a curious glare and said, "Well, of course I can talk. Like every animal in the land can talk, like a human can." Then the dragon looked at the girl up and down carefully to see that her clothing was greatly different before he replied, "And judging by your clothing, it is quite clear that you're not from around here." Natalie nervously tucked a loose strand of her hair behind her ear and said, "Yeah, I'm from very far away, and strangely enough, I don't know how I ended up in, what is this place called? Wildmoore, a land where animals and humans coexist peacefully. Are you not aware of it?" the dragon asked. Natalie shook her head and said, "No, and like I said, I'm not from here. I just accidentally found a way here, and not sure how." The dragon wasn't too sure why, but there was something about Natalie that intrigued him, and it wasn't her unusual clothing that had his interest. The dragon asked the girl, "What is your name?" Natalie, in an odd sense, felt like this dragon wouldn't hurt her. It seemed to be very harmless. So she replied, "Natalie, what's your name?" The dragon cordially bowed to her and said, "I am Fourth Wind, the last 3 of the guardian dragons." "Guardian dragons?" Natalie repeated. Fourth Wind gestured for her to come with him and explained as the two walked. Guardian dragons are ones that are bonded with their humans if they have a similar marking as the one particular dragon. Once they do, they're spiritually connected. And the dragon will serve as a protector and guardian for that person. However, something happened that made my kind almost go extinct. "What happened?" Natalie asked with genuine concern. "A war was caused by an unbearable evil, and many people, including my kind, they were bonded with, have perished, leaving only my 2 siblings left and me," Fourth Wind explained. Natalie felt nothing but sympathy for the dragon who had been through something as horrific as this, but then wondered what if the man in the black cloak was one of those men who caused the war, and tried to attempt to kill him as well. Natalie asked, "And that man who trapped you in that magic net, was he one of the bad men who caused the war to happen?" "Yes, among others like him," Fourth Wind replied. But then he turned to Natalie, and it only took him a moment to see her necklace around her neck. He looked at both curiously and as if he had seen a ghost, before he managed to ask, "That necklace, where did you find that?" Natalie looked down at her necklace, gently caressed the crystal with her finger, and looked up to fourth one before she replied, "It belonged to my mother. My aunt gave it to me back to where I'm from. I don't know what happened, but it glowed, and some kind of light magic came out and caused the magic net to break you free." Forthwind looked at the necklace and then back at Natalie. He wasn't sure how the necklace was able to play off that kind of energy to break him out of his trap, but at least there was at least one friendly face to rescue him from it. Then, the two walked to the direction of Forest Grove until they found a clearing to sit down and rest. Natalie then asked Forthwind, "So these men who caused the war, who are they?" Forthwind took a deep breath and looked to the ground with a heavy heart. Natalie immediately regretted asking him this, because whoever these men were causing this world so much pain. They definitely did a number on how many people they had hurt or killed. However, despite the initial sadness, Forthwind explained, they are known as the Dark Warlocks. Since the beginning of time, they were sorcerers that often used dark magic to cause trouble and mischief. Though they took their magic a bit too far when the war from 13 years ago has started. And the one who led the war is Zane, the leader of the Warlocks. "And what did the people do to him that made him so vengeful?" Natalie asked. Zane's mother, who was actually rumored to be a witch, was burnt to death at the stake because someone believed she created a love potion to make one of the village men fall in love with her. But it is entranced as dark magic, and after his mother died, Zane created an alliance with other Dark Warlocks and swore revenge on the men who burned his mother and everyone in the village. And matters were made worse when a prophecy was made by the fortune-telling polar bears, Forthwind said. Curious, Natalie asked. "What's the prophecy?" "The prophecy is that a child born from a forest warrior and a forest knight containing a light crystal will defeat the Dark Warlocks so they can perish once more. And we will all be free from their vindictive will. But the child, as well as her mother and aunt, they disappeared during the war. And no one has seen either of them ever since," Forthwind replied. Natalie couldn't help but feel bad for the people who had suffered at the hands of the Dark Warlocks. It reminded her so much of the villains that she had been reading about since she was younger. So villains like this were something with which she was too familiar. "Did anyone try to stop them before?" Natalie asked. Forthwind ruefully shook his head and replied, "Unfortunately, no. No one was able to stop them. Not even lions from the lion realm or the forest knights and warriors weren't able to stop them alone." Natalie was confused when Forthwind kept separating the forest knights and warriors from each other, before she asked, getting more and more curious about them. "Aren't knights and warriors one and the same?" Forthwind looked down at Natalie with an amused look in his emerald eyes, and replied with a chuckle, "No, the knights are of the strongest and most valiant men sworn to protect the kingdom, and the forest warriors were organized by the boldest and skilled women protecting both the kingdom and here in the forest grove, with orangutans being their wise and well-intentioned advisors." Suddenly, a thought occurred to Natalie and said, Wait, aren't we in Forest Grove right now? Doesn't that mean we're trespassing here? Before Forthwind could answer, the new duo heard rustling in the large bushes, and without warning, 15 Forest warrior women, all donning a brown leather long-sleeved top, grass pants from overgrown blades of grass, and brown comeback boots, with all of them aiming their arrows at Natalie and Forthwind. One woman in her early 30s with blonde hair and an upper back length and blue eyes approached them with her arrow still aiming at them before she replied, "Stay where you are. Who are you both?" Natalie raised both her hands and said, "Please, my friend and I do not mean to trespass here." Another blonde woman with shoulder-length hair, green eyes, and a cross scar on her right cheek lowered her bow and arrow before she replied, "Madeline, it's a guardian dragon. He shows no harm here." And the girl? Madeline, the first blonde woman, asked with her eyes still glaring at Natalie with suspicion. Forthwind stood in between the forest warriors and Natalie protectively, and replied, "This girl is under my protection. If you harm her, then you will not unlike what I'm going to do to you." "How do we know she's not another threat sent by the Dark Warlocks?" Madeline asked. "Because she saved me from one of the Dark Warlocks after I was trapped in their dark magic, and just by using her crystal necklace," Forthwind announced. Madeline looked at Natalie, but then her eyes landed on her necklace, and looked as though she had seen a ghost. She lowered her bow and arrow before announcing, "Everyone stand down. The girl and the dragon are coming with us back to camp. If anyone should question the girl, it would have to be Cassius." Natalie felt her heart. Natalie nervously felt her heart beating. Her first day in a foreign world was going to be tougher than she thought. In the distance, earlier that day, a red panda wearing a satchel and a sash made of autumn leaves witnessed a girl save the guardian dragon with the crystal necklace encasing light abilities. And it was enough for the little creature to know who the girl was. He immediately bolted to the direction of his desired destination. He ran so fast no one could barely see him. And Although he had to be careful by dodging upcoming rocks and slipping under fallen tree branches, he managed to see the castle and rush towards there. The red panda rushed to the throne room, causing Queen Harley and King Ulric to look at the small creature in concern. Queen Harley was the first to walk up to the red panda and bed down to the creature's eye level as she asked, "Any news, Dottie?" Dottie was out of breath from running, but managed to say, "The girl is here. She survived the massacre from 13 years ago." King Ulric followed his wife's lead and asked, "Where is she now?" "At Forest Grove. She and the guardian dragon she saved had already taken off to Arturio knows where." "Please forgive me, Your Majesties, for not getting to the girl when I witnessed her act of valor," Dottie said. Queen Harley gently caressed her messenger's red fur and said, No. Your one and only job is to inform us of what is going on in the kingdom. And now we know that the child is back. We finally have our champion to defeat Zane and his army." King Ulric smiled in agreement and said, "You have done well, Dottie." Then Queen Harley asked, "The child and the dragon, have they gone far?" "As far as I know, Your Majesty, they couldn't have gone too far in the forest," Dottie assured his queen and gave both of the royal rulers a respectful bow before excusing himself out of the castle. Queen Harley and King Ulric were both relieved that the child they believed was lost had finally returned, and were anxious to see what she looked like now. But unbeknownst to them, they were in for an unexpected awakening. Okay, that's chapter 4. Stay tuned for chapter 5. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!